Hi, everyone. Welcome to You Inside You, the podcast where you discover how to know, recognize, and trust the voice of your true self. I am Trina Schmidt, and today I have with me Dawn Attanasio, who is the founder of a Purposeful Life Coach. She is a veteran teacher turned life coach who knew it was her calling. She started her business to positively impact others because she knows it is possible to become stronger and achieve anything. So, going through tough moments such as domestic violence, divorce, financial struggles, and seeing a loved one self destruct through substance abuse, raising a child as a single parent, and being a caregiver was difficult. It made her stronger and it opened her eyes to realize that everyone is going through something, right? We're all humans. So I want to welcome to the stage Dawn. Yay!
Hi, Trina.
Welcome. Welcome. I am so happy to have you here today. I love having inspirational and influential people here on this stage that have walked the walk, not just talk the talk, as human beings have awakened into something much bigger, much more purposeful, which is really the purposeful coach. So, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Tell me a little bit about what got you to this stage today. If we want to back up a little bit without getting into all the details, but on the journey of self-awakening and personal growth, there's so many bumps, and it sounds like you've been through a lot of the qualifying bumpy events as a human being. Which of them stands out? Tell me a little bit about your story of what got you to closer to that you inside you part.
I love, first of all, how you said qualifying bumps because those bumps can be difficult. But do you know what? I realized eventually that the bumps have a purpose too. The bumps, I could I could just learn from them. I started to see that every bump that came my way really was going to teach me something. And once I knew that, my whole approach to the bumps, I was more coming from a place of gratitude and realizing if I'm going through this, there's a reason because most likely I need to walk in those shoes of someone else in each situation to help that person because that's the best way to know what someone's going through when you have gone through it. It's not something you learn in a book.
Mm.
So, to answer your question, which of the many bumps did something for me? I mean, wow, there have been so many. I will say that having everything I needed growing up, I would say middle class, but always having what I needed was my experience. And then fast forward, and even being a little privileged or finding my self-worth through material things. I went through that time in my 20s. Well, after that, I was knocked down because then all that was taken away. And where am I without that ability for, say, retail therapy? I had no means to do that anymore. I had a soul search and it was like rock bottom. I had to realize that just me, I had to look at myself. I couldn't run anymore. So, um, that when you don't have money to use to make yourself feel good or to run away, or like I used to think vacations were where it was at, but it was really an escape. So
Mm.
once I had to live the simple life, like back to basics, it forced me to work on myself and see and stop, pause, and see life in a different way. See and notice other people. I think before I was only noticing myself.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. So how did you start that journey? So there's this notion, there's this awareness that enough stuff have happened in life. And a lot of times there's this nudge throughout our life that kind of knows that there's more, that kind of knows that this can't just be it, that kind of knows that maybe a change is coming our way. But we tend to ignore it for a certain period of time. And this time in your life, you kind of knew something needed a change and that you need to implement a change. Where did you start? What was that like for you?
Well, if you're referring to like to change to become a life coach,
The moment that you knew that you didn't have the life that you wanted, that something needed to change in your life, that you needed to take charge of kind of that journey to
oh,
the you inside you. What did you do? What kind of resources did you bring in?
well, the biggest change was the idea of a fairy tale ending. Like I thought
Mm.
getting married would be the answer.
Yes.
And I ignored, I'll be honest with you, I ignored red flags,
Mm.
and that will always get you in trouble. But I
Mm.
did it anyway because I was young and I wanted something different. I thought I could start a new life that way. And it really was not the answer. But because I wasn't happy in the other life, I thought it would help.
Mm.
I thought I was leaving certain things behind and was going to a better future, but it was not. And I realized I had made a choice that was not the right choice.
Mm.
I stuck it out though, but when I realized that, okay, this is a miserable life.
Mm.
This person doesn't love me. This person, and my limited knowledge of marriage would be like, all right, I think you should love each other. I think you should care for each other. And it was horrible. It was, and the moment I left, I had lived more in 2 weeks alone and experienced a better life than the 4 years, 4.5 years. With it was trapped in imprisonment. And I think I'm very sensitive to anytime I feel trapped. So being an empath, being very sensitive, and being now more wise, I don't let myself get into those situations. I have a very low tolerance and I can see things before I would get into it. So I do protect myself with people, places, and things.
Mm. Mm. And that really goes hand in hand with being intuitive, being an empath, as you're talking about. I work with a lot of women who, by nature, has a higher awareness and an attentiveness of other people's needs. And unfortunately, a lot of us tend to drift away from our own needs and who we are because it is safer to make sure everybody else are taken care of first, that everybody else are happy, that nobody's upset with us. And it becomes this blurry mush of blended needs that slowly allow us to abandon ourselves. And I've seen so many women on this journey, and men for that sake, because I have men on this podcast as well, but I usually serve women on this journey because we have not been taught how to be strong, assertive leaders without being aggressive and without compromising our own needs. How do we set healthy boundaries with full self-respect and honoring of our own values, while at the same time value that of others? And it's just something we have not been taught. And as a result, you talking about we run away from stuff, right? We want to avoid stuff and get away from things instead of learning how to move towards what we really desire in life. So when we run away and we haven't clearly defined where we run to, right? We run to marriage and we run to coupling, or we run to abandoning our own needs and all these things that are super counterintuitive to getting what we want. So is that something that you recognize?
Yes, I I understand now that I think assertiveness is you have to know you deserve a right to be assertive. I used to not know how to do it. I guess it was more like passive aggressive because I witnessed that my whole life. So you know, we do learn what we see growing up and day in and day out. So I was not good at that at all. And my self-esteem was really low. And that's a big part of the work I do from the first session when I have my clients with me. It's self-esteem building
Mm,
because that your whole growth is stunted without self-esteem because you don't believe you deserve anything, anything good, anything. And so you can quickly um, stop anything good that you have going on. You won't be consistent, and um, you'll choose and settle for everything, for a job, for relationships, whether it's friendships or romantic relationships. You will settle and you don't like focus on you. So I really believe it's important to love yourself, spend time with yourself, build yourself up. And how do you do that? Well, I know how to do it now. I didn't. I used to look to the external. Oh, if I was, given praise or recognized, won awards, excellent writer, all school awards. But then what happens when you stop school?
yeah.
We have that structure of school, college, beyond, but then you really left with you. And that's also a big part of my work. Your identity, one's identity outside of everything else. You yourself, right? Me, myself, and I. Do I know who I am? Do I care to know who I am? Do I honor myself and give myself what I need? There's no guilt. And then when we approach life and people from that standpoint, we treat people in a good way. We treat them how to we teach them rather, excuse me,
Mm,
how to treat us. And when I look at the relationships that I've had and fast forward who I've become, I can't believe I gave certain people the time of day. I'll be honest with you. How could I put myself in situations where I was mistreated, not valued?
mm,
But it is part of my journey because I know better now.
yeah. Wow, yeah, that's powerful. And looking back, I love how you brought that picture in of reviewing your life, what it looked like before, the person you were before. If you were to go back 10, 15, 20 years ago, you kind of decide which version of yourself you want to go back to.
Oh,
What did that person of you need to know? What is it, some advice that you would give her at that stage in life?
I would really let myself know like that I don't need anyone else. And then I have to care about, like, truly care and value myself. I was always into self-help, self-learning. I never minded my alone time. I thrived with my alone time, quiet time. I learned, but still, what was missing was the self-esteem piece. That. that really led me to all my poor decisions. And at the time, I didn't know they were poor decisions because I was learning and growing along the way. But until the self-esteem was there, I didn't show up the way you see me today.
Mm.
And I use my strength to empower others. It's very easy to see, right?
Mm.
When you've
I
been
love
somewhere and to see it yourself in someone else
that.
and then know how to approach it.
So how would you define self-esteem?
Self-esteem is your self-worth, knowing your worth, and you don't have, it's you without anything you do. It's just you for being a human being.
Mm.
Like knowing that you don't have to do anything to earn it. Your self-esteem should be there. Yes, we can earn trust and respect of others, but that self-esteem, it should, it cannot be taken away. It should not be taken away. I think everyone has a right to self-esteem, and so many people are broken and they don't have self-esteem at all
Mm.
ages.
Mm. Yes. So how do you start building that self-esteem? So if somebody is listening to this and they are really identifying in this space of having gone through a lot of these bumpy life events, right? A lot of contrast in life, and they recognize that, yes, my self-esteem probably could be better. What do you suggest?
I always start with a pen and paper and writing 20 to 50 of your best traits, your good qualities, because we're conditioned to see flaws and faults that we all have, right? Character defects. But until you pause and have like this little assignment to do it, then you see, and it's there, it's permanent, and you say, wow, this is me. Maybe this is, I haven't thought about this, but this is the true me. I am all of these great things. Life maybe knocked me down. Maybe I have people around me who don't acknowledge me or anything like that. So, looking at all your great qualities, skills, talents, even accomplishments, and then just keep looking at it, adding to that list.
Mm.
That's what worked for me.
Mm. I love that. So it's really an inventory of these
Yeah.
qualities that we have, how we see ourselves. And in the beginning, that list can be small.
Yes.
And it's important that we don't have that self-judgment of, why can't I think about more? I don't have any more. And we can kind of get stuck in that limited thinking again, but really honoring ourselves of finding and identifying anything that is a positive quality about ourselves so we can start the reprogramming. Most of us have these limiting beliefs or these stories that we were told internally, these messages from the people we were brought up with. You can't do this, or life is only this short, or, you know, there's limitations everywhere, and glass ceilings here, and women can't do that, and you're just supposed to suck it up, right? And settle and lower your voice and yada yada. So we don't feel we have permission. We don't feel we're more. We a lot of times imagine that this is a life for others. Like this can't happen for me. I am not all of these things. But guess what? The brain is magical, right? The brain can kind of be tricked in a way because the brain doesn't know the difference between past events and future events. So if we make something real and identify those qualities. Sometimes we don't quite believe them, but we can still make them believable. The more we practice it, the more
Yeah.
there are.
And perception is reality. So we
Yes.
do make our own reality, and we don't have to look back and dwell upon past hurts, past disappointments. We can just, I say, look in the mirror. This can be very difficult to actually look in the mirror and say, I like myself, I love myself, I am a good person, and I deserve a good life. Those things, when I started doing them, like the first couple of times, I felt like awkward. This is tough. It was hard to look back at my reflection while I said it. But we shouldn't run from ourselves.
Mm, I love that. So the process that you take your clients through, what comes out at the end of it? So where do you lead people to? Where they come from? Where are they stuck? And what do you see after working with them?
I see a whole person. I see someone who very often tears,
Hmm.
just like found themselves wake up. They wake up one day and they're like, how did I get here? Or life just changed for me. And they feel so down, no self-esteem. Um, a lot of times I see it because of other relationships. I have clients who are parents and parents of adult children, and it's impacting the dynamics can impact them negatively. Imagine, right? We're blessed if we don't have that. If we have freedom to be who we are, we can breathe in our own house. I believe your house, your home should be a place of peace. If you're not having that, it can be very difficult to navigate. So, um, I also have clients who they've made the wrong choice of a partner many years ago. They're paying for it today. And I believe when you choose your partner, you choose your life. I've had so many problems in the past because of someone else.
Hmm.
Yes, I entered the relationship, but because I wasn't strong enough and had the self-esteem to recognize and either pause things, stop things, you know, sometimes a person can bring you down. Or I see a lot of women who were financially independent get involved with someone who basically leans on them and depends upon them. And they run into debt, they run into all sorts of things. And now they carry the burden. I've seen it too often, to be honest with you.
Hmm. Hmm.
Women have gotten divorced, but sometimes they leave and they're still struggling beyond the divorce because
Hmm.
they have to pick up the pieces and they're paying for someone else's mistakes.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that's one of the things I see quite
Yeah.
often.
Yeah. And that is just life happening, right? There are life events such as divorce, and even parenting can be rather dramatic or traumatic at times, right? Because again, here's another thing that we haven't learned how to navigate. Most of us don't have parents that had it all together and very high emotional intelligence, right? We kind of have to fend for ourselves. And unless we have some good role models, how are we supposed to know? And so you work with people that feel stuck. I certainly have had my portions, and I'm working currently with women who feel stuck, right? Feel stuck, feel very strained in relationships, don't know how to have a voice, don't know how to navigate conflict, even toxic people in their lives, I believe that we attract the relationships that we really need to expand in our lifetime. There is nothing happening at random. I believe it all happens for a reason. I believe all our relationships are gifts, and that any relationship or difficult person coming into our lives is our biggest and greatest teacher. Because now we have an opportunity to let go of these stories that no longer serves us, the limiting beliefs, the challenging part of being in the world, and show up differently so those people no longer have a chance of asserting their toxicity or their power or dominance or whatever it looks like into your life.
Wow. You just reminded me of something which I think is worth saying. When you don't know yourself, at least for me, when you don't know who you are yet, and you have that poor self-esteem, you can kind of like be with someone else, and then it's like you're just along for their ride. And I really felt like I would just join other people in and more just felt like a bystander, and I was wasting my own time. I didn't put myself first. And clearly I do that now. I've been doing that for a while. It's sad. It actually saddens me. And that's why anyone who comes to you or me as a client, like they have a fighting chance to turn it around and not do this alone and not have to live that way and waste moments.
Absolutely. We don't want to be stuck in that. We don't want to feel alone in it. I think the biggest reason that I am using my voice and my choice in life of squashing fear is to have people not feel alone on their journey. I spent way too many years feeling that nobody understood me. Nobody understood my longing for purpose and for meaning. There's plenty out there that could support me in that. I just didn't know how to find it. And now technology and internet is bringing us so close together that there really should be nobody out there feeling alone. And if you find yourself in a toxic relationship, or if you're stuck in a relationship that is not fulfilling, I want to say, first of all, it doesn't mean that you should get out of it. I really just want to say that off the bat because it kind of, it needs to be assessed a bit. This is something I help my clients with, assessing the status of a relationship because there can be a lot of forms of toxicity. There can be a lot of forms of unhealth in that relationship or dysfunction that may not be bad, that can actually be turned around pretty quick. I've had a lot of clients come into my life that seemingly look like they're headed for divorce, and they chose to build their self-love and self-esteem and show up differently in their relationship. And it just changed. It changed because the partner was willing to go with the change, right? So if you find yourself stuck in a relationship, it doesn't mean that we necessarily need to get out. It means that there is some work that needs to be done, right? We got to look ourselves in the mirror and say, what can I do today to get myself a little bit unstuck so I can create new momentum? So what do you see people come out with after working with them for a while?
They they change their lifestyle. They
Mm,
change. so many of them start making better choices, things they've been avoiding, they then will start to do. They start to expand in their life, whether it's new friendships as opposed to toxic ones, maybe faith, leaning toward their faith a little more and finding a community connection. Um, Change. I'll give you one example generally, of course. Uh, I I had one client and she transformed very much and she works from home still, but she she was like working, overworking and putting so many demands upon herself. And she just progressed and put some pieces together like technology and worked with the team. She then allowed herself to take breaks and even step out of the house. She really wasn't leaving her home. And it, she was able to also set boundaries with yet another example of having an adult child at home and being a better role model. I often hear from my clients that their children notice a difference in them and their
Mm.
children come around, most of them. Um, then they start getting closer to the parent because they see, wow, mom is doing something. I see her happy now. I see
Mm.
her thriving. It's more attractive, right? Law of attraction.
Yes.
It's just a great joy to know that you can be a part of someone's life and they're happy, they're achieving, they're not self-sabotaging, which is huge.
Hmm.
They're accountable, they're getting things done, which I believe is so important, that getting things done that need to be done, and so it's not weighing on you. Energy is so important, right? And when something is constantly there and you're not addressing it, you will be weighed down, you will be drained. And then how can you live life to the fullest when something like that is, draining your energy?
Mm. Yeah, it's that beach ball, right? Spend so much time on holding that beach ball under the water, and all that energy spent on ruminating and trying to fix an issue that you really have no control over, instead of creating peace for yourself and being mindful and being present for your children and being present for yourself. I remember spending a lot of time just obsessing about fixing things and how can I do this? And, there must be something wrong with me. And I should do it different next time. And how can I make it different? And this is not fair. And this is not reasonable. And all these thoughts of just over and over and over and over again, over analyzing and totally not sticking to my own lane. I know now what I'm responsible for, and I'm certainly not responsible for other people's journey and other people's emotions. And this is where a lot of people are stuck, right? That we are
Yes,
over responsible, right? Because we are so intuitive and we're so empathetic and we kind of know before other people sometimes what they need, right? So we kind of have to stick to
yes.
our own lane.
Wow, I'm happy you brought that up too, because I think I did it forever. I thought, wow, I'll help. I always offered. There was a time when I offered to help everyone. I was so available for them, and I put myself on the back burner. So when did I show up for myself? I did when I'm already tired. And then, oh, I'm tired. Oh, tomorrow. But I would come full energy and show up for other people, help them with whatever they needed help with.
Mm. Mm.
But really, essentially, not, I was not operating in self-esteem. Had I had the self-esteem then, I would have taken care of me too first, and then
Mm,
I would still make time in my life to help someone.
yeah.
You need that balance, right? And you need to be able to say no. I used to think I was a horrible person. I had to be a people pleaser, say yes. I felt I did a lot of out of obligation.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we
So
feel that need for the validation, right? And I kind of save the day and I look great in other people's eyes, but it's really not about that, right? It's our own ego trying to fill this void and sense of importance. Instead of doing that for ourselves, we try to do it for other people. Yeah.
right. It's the external. Instead of looking inward and working on ourselves, doing that
Mm,
assignment,
mm,
that is where it's at. And I really believe that then when you can surround yourself with positive people and you have self-esteem, you create that support.
hmm.
When things are too hard, I really wholeheartedly believe this. Don't chase people. If someone wants to be in my life and I want them in turn, reciprocate and want them to be in my life, yes. But I don't have to allow people in, nor do they have to allow me in.
Mm,
I also believe in compatibility. Some people, it's not about being liked, it's really, are we compatible?
yeah, absolutely. And do I need you in my life right now? I believe that anything happens for a reason, and if it shows up and it is, then it is. And
Yes,
I
and it's
love that
true.
advice. Don't chase people. Oh my gosh, I hope people are really needing to hear that today. I love that part. I have been a people chaser in my life, probably most of my childhood, because I was just living through other people's journey, as you were saying, really not taking responsibility or even knowing what I desired. I don't think I've ever really asked myself, what do I want? Because I didn't think that I had the right to choose then. I
Yes.
didn't know that I could really create the life that I wanted. It was mind blowing when I found that out. I was like, what? This like ego thing has been has been feeding me with lies my whole life, and it's not about that, and it's not about what other people say. It's like I can take charge and I can choose, like I have the right to do that. Yes. I have a choice, right? Don't chase people. Chase your dreams instead, right? Chase what you want.
That that's the thing to chase and follow. In doing that, follow your intuition, your gut, and always allow yourself to pivot. So in your journey to find, follow your dream. The dream doesn't have to be the straight road, right? There can be many stops along the way, many opportunities, not just one opportunity for the dream,
Mm,
right? So in this journey of us helping others, serving others as life coaches, a podcast can be part of it.
yes.
Writing, blogging, and the clients themselves. There's tons of opportunities and avenues to go. It's also like always staying in inquiry, learning, discovering
Mm,
ourselves, just like we want our clients to discover who they are.
mm. Oh, absolutely. And I got from Mel Robbins' book, Let Them, this thing about the best choice doesn't always feel right. There's this notion of when we're kind of hit with that nudge of our higher selves and our intuition, and then our ego kind of takes over, And it's like, yeah, but you can't really do that. Yeah, but that's not really very logical or helpful or possible. It doesn't mean that it's not the best choice in that moment. We can't always rationalize why we do certain things. We can't always understand why certain people in our lives or why we all of a sudden get this idea of jumping on a new job or a new opportunity of something. We can't always rationalize it. We just have to trust and follow that it serves a higher purpose. Doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means that most likely you're stepping outside of your comfort zone, but you're following this nudge of life trying to guide you further into you inside you, further into your purpose, further into your path. And we need to allow ourselves that. We need to allow ourselves to be uncomfortable with the fact that this doesn't feel, um, this feels it doesn't feel wrong. I mean, you guys know what I'm talking
Uncomfortable?
about, right? It's not this like icky feeling of, I can't do this, but it's more this limiting feeling of, no, but I can't do that. What are people going to say about that, right? This judgment, it feels wrong. But there's part of you that just know that it feels right. It just feels like I'm being pulled, I'm being called, and I need to go explore it.
Yeah.
If people have that kind of yearning, what would you tell them?
I would say don't ignore it
Yeah.
and then discover, like, answer why.
Mm.
Why? And visualize yourself going that way. And what will you have if you do go that way and take that choice to go in that avenue versus not? How would your life be without, if you say no to that, weigh your pros and cons.
Mm.
How does it feel here is so
Mm.
important. I have, that makes me think of like when we make these choices, right? I also learned a very hard lesson, but I'm glad I learned it. Not everyone has to support us or understand us. It doesn't mean we're wrong if we don't have the validation. Some of my biggest choices today, such as retiring, teaching over 30 years, I was able to do it, was not impulsive, and I was able to also, I'm in Florida like you are, even though I'm a New Yorker, and I do go back and forth a little bit, but it may sound crazy to you, but I had very limited support in those two major choices. I knew they were the right ones for me. No one is inside your brain or body and knows how you feel. And I've always been like, just let people make their own decisions. Uh, I it is and can be disappointing when people aren't happy for you and your wins, your celebrations. But like, I have that book too, but I haven't read it yet, to let them. But I have heard Mel Robbins speak
Yeah.
a little bit on the internet, and that phrase, like, let them,
Mm.
you just have to let go.
Yeah.
Do do you.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to trust yourself. And that's why I would
Absolutely.
say your instincts, your intuition, they are your
Mm.
guide.
Mm. I love that.
If you feel it, that guide, and intentionally ignore it for whatever reason, I think it's not the best decision.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. So trust your intuition. I love your exercise with really carefully put yourself in the situation of those two outcomes. Most likely, you already know what choice feels most aligned with you. But when we really do the two paths of of going full out on one situation and another situation. It really gives clarity because how often do we allow ourselves to use our imagination and really walk all the way out there? And it's so powerful because the more we do that, the more clear it becomes until we can kind of decipher the difference between what is my higher self and my true essence versus ego trying to protect me and keep me stuck in my comfort zone. It can kind of be hard to know which voice is presenting itself. But as soon as we create some clear pictures of two very different outcomes and processes, it can make it much clearer in terms of what feels right for us. So I really appreciate that. Where can people find you? I mean, we're gonna put all your information on here. It was so nice to learn about your journey and all the things that you have kind of overcome in life, and now you're now helping people from that space of wisdom and the space of guidance and space of, holding somebody's hand really through that journey of navigating all the unknown that we just have not been taught. So where do people find you? Do you have anything coming up that we can invite people to?
Well, currently, I would say go to my website. There's a lot of information there. And I think through my Instagram, so both are Purposeful Life Coach, my Instagram really shows how I live, like every
Mm,
day, how every day I am enjoying everyday life. And I always say life is not perfect. There's days where I might feel tired or drained, but I know myself. I know what it takes, right? That's being human, that I just take care of me. And then you need those like time periods of rest.
mm,
Um,
mm.
so um, I think that my website is the best place currently. And I do coaching virtually, unless someone happens to be local to where I am. And I do travel to speak at people's events, when they need a keynote or a guest speaker at a small event, whatever. It's not too small or too big for me. I think anytime we can add value and we do have that alignment with someone else's cause or um, mission, we should do it.
Yeah, thank you for that. The Purposeful Life Coach. So if you feel drawn to know more about Dawn, we're going to put the information up there on you to learn more about her. And I love how you allow people to get into your everyday life. I mean, that is super inspiring because don't we all want to make sure that we have people in our court that really get what life is about? This is why this is so important that people get to know influential and wise people out there from a more personal note. Like they have walked the walk, right? They have discovered the journey, they've overcome the bumps, and we're still dealing with life, right? We don't become expert in life. We might become expert in a process of kind of how to get from A to B. We're still humans and we're still dealing with life. So I love that. So people know where to find you. Um, I I'm so excited about this and um, allowing people to finally receive help and guidance. I think that comes that point where people know, like this is my time. You want to resonate with that person. You
You
want
got
to we're not for everybody, right? But
Yes.
but if we speak your language, this is your time. I am most always taking on new clients as well. My program is open right now. different workshops coming up. I'm actually working on a inner shift program, going to be a 4-part program that I'm going to do with a um, Dr. Mona from up in Canada. Hi, Dr. Mona. So that's going to be really exciting. So there's so much resource out there for us. And before we end for today, I kind of want to ask the Oprah question. What do you know for sure?
Oh, wow. I think you just get, I got chills when you said that. I didn't expect that. Okay, what do I know for sure? I know for sure that I am operating in my gifts and that I'm just being me and I'm okay with that. I don't have to please anybody in life. And I feel very at peace with myself. And I know 100% I'm doing what I'm meant to do.
Mm, I love that. Thank you for playing with me today. Thank you for finding me. Thank you for being on You Inside You for today. Everybody listening, anybody listening, be kind to who you are. Be patient on your journey. Every step that you take is a step in getting to know yourself better, understanding yourself better, loving yourself deeper, which is as a result going to bring you a lot more conscious relationships, deeper sense of knowing, deeper sense of meeting. If you're looking for a group or a network, I have Conscious Sisterhood Connections. It used to be Time and Tuesdays. Now I just renamed it. I renamed it today based on a poll in my group. I'm like, I want it to sound more impactful. So Conscious Sisterhood Connections, this is a place where spiritual, empathetic, intuitive, influential women come together and talk about life, talk about personal growth, talk about what really matters in life. A lot of times we don't have that space with other people in our lives. So for any women listening to this podcast, if you're looking for a network, I have that open and available, and I will put the information on there as well. So thank you for listening. And today, thank you, Dawn, for being a part of this journey with me. And I will see you guys next time.